we turn our attention to a facility that's regarded as one of the sites that earns Ghana a lot of money in terms of tourism, but that dream keeps fading every day due to the bad and bumpy nature of the road that leads to the site. And earlier this week, our hotline documentary, if you quite remember, showed how tedious it is to access the Kakum National Park. Well, help may be coming soon if the words of Managing Director of the Ghana Tourism Development Company are anything to go by. So I sat with him following Richard Kwadwo's documentary, and here's our conversation coming up next on the show. First of all, explain to us exactly what the Ghana Tourism Development Company does.
Yes, thank you very much again for the opportunity. The Ghana Tourism Development Company was set up as the commercial wing of the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture. The ministry, understandably, is responsible for policy and for providing planning and direction, but it needs implementing agencies through which it would carry out its mandate as given by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana. Now, I have my colleague or sister institution, the Ghana Tourism Authority, that focuses on regulation and marketing and licensing and registration standards in general and training. But what we do differently as Ghana Tourism Development Company is to focus on investments both from private and public sources, locally and internationally, into the tourism sector directly, and to improve the infrastructure that exists for tourism. So that's what the Ghana Tourism Development Company does in a nutshell. Okay.
So what has changed within this 7 or 8 months since this administration?
A lot. It's been quite a roller coaster. Once we took office, and I was lucky or privileged to have been appointed by the President, the first thing I did under the supervision of the Minister of Tourism, Honorable Catherine Afeku, and also MP for Evaluation, was to take inventory of the sites that existed.
Okay.
Having a focus.
Wait, say sites? That's tourist
sites in general, or tourist facilities in general. So this would include sites, receptive facilities, and everything else that falls into the category. Understandably, we realized, even from the manifesto planning days, that there was a gap with infrastructure. Access was a problem. Access in terms of routes to tourist sites, access in terms of capacity to contain people at particular tourist sites were challenges. So we have been spending some time taking inventory. Beyond taking that inventory, we have decided also, with whatever little resources available and whatever we can mash out from both local and international sources, to try and repair, as it were, or to improve what we have. Understandably also, because government is challenged with resources, we have had to adopt very private sector led approaches to be able to run in the investments we need. And so whilst we do that, we have to focus on what our low hanging fruits were. For instance,
when you say low hanging fruits, what exactly do you mean?
We did an exercise beyond the inventory taking exercise to know what sites exist and what the challenges are. We did a second exercise to narrow in on what we call Project 20. Understand, knowing that we can't do all of it within a 4-year mandate. Hopefully, as God will give us another term and perhaps another, but with a 4-year mandate, we're looking at how we can improve some of them, not all of them at a go.
And you put a number to it, 20.
We put a number to it, we call it Project 20. So spread across the country in every region, we have looked at particular sites. So if you go to Volta, we have narrowed in on particular sites like the Vli waterfalls, which we believe should be a priority. In the central regions, notably Kakum, though developed in terms of tourist attraction, but we have narrowed in on that also because of access. To
that's one of the major things that brought me to your office.
So I'm happy we identified it ahead of your coming. As one of the things.
Because that's been like a major talking point. But my colleague Richard Kwadwo also recently did an extensive a documentary on that. And it's amazing that Kakum attracts lots of people.
Thousands, actually.
And it's access has always been a problem.
Always. Our always is 6 months, I should say. And we are trying, but you would agree within 6 months of taking office, it would be near impossible to be able to fix all the problems.
How high is that on your priority list?
Very high, very high. Indeed, we have engaged with the Assembly. We have had to go there ourselves with the Tourism Minister. We have had to engage the Sector Minister and initiated the processes necessary with scaling it up and writing the necessary contract and getting somebody to fix that road, because we've gone there, we've looked at the numbers, the traffic is very high, very, very high on that road, and it's important that we're able to fix.
Do we have funding for that?
Those are the issues I will not be able to, it is not within my mandate, it's within the ambit of the Minister of Roads and Highways and his deputy and the sector agency. That road falls under the...
Oh, so tourism is not taking responsibility for working on the access road?
Yes,
there.
Tourism ourselves, we do not construct roads. What we do is to facilitate the process. So as an investment wing, once I identify the gap or the need to be able to fix it, we go to the relevant authority, we go negotiate, we go arrange for the relevant agency, in this case, the Department of Urban Roads, under the Ministry of Roads and Highway. How
important are they taking this, if they are at all?
They are.
Do you feel that? So are there timelines? Do we know when they're going to fix the roads?
I am unable to give you a timeline as of this moment, but I can say confidently that they are. I would be able to give you a specific timeline, perhaps within a month. I know there are some budgetary arrangements being made. We are in a month of budget preparation. Next month, the budget should be done and presented to Parliament, and I can say confidently one of the roads that to be considered for construction is a road leading to Kakum, because we have made that case, and we are following up earnestly with the minister. My minister has been talking to her colleague minister, and we know and we believe that once the budget is read and the funds are released, is one of the roads that will be dealt with. Okay.
Are there other challenges with regards Kakum particularly that the company is looking at fixing?
There are things we should do to improve it. Indeed, Kakum is not managed by the Tourism Ministry. It is managed by the Forestry Commission. And it's good to say they have done a good job at it in terms of the site itself. There are a few things we want to work with them to improve on. For instance, technology is today a thing we live with. There are many people who have told us that they want to be able to go to Kakum and whilst on the canopy walkway be able to take a selfie or take live videos and be able to post it instantly. And they're unable to do that. So my colleague in the Ghana Tourism Authority, Akwesi Ajima, and myself have taken it upon ourselves, talking to Forestry Commission, and we are in contact with the telcos, the network operators, to be able to extend internet facilities or data facilities to the tourist site, so we can get our patrons to be able to enjoy the site with all the technology they can, and perhaps be able to, and it is in our interest actually that is done once we are seeking to market Ghana, and not just to ourselves but to the international community. It's in our interest to be able to make sure we do that.
We can say that Kakum contributes a lot, but what are the facts?
Again, these are numbers. I have some numbers. We would be able to speak, reference more to the Forestry Commission, who take the numbers daily. But with what we have, I can say on authority, we are doing in the thousands monthly. Okay. And on particular days, the shocking data will be that on particular holidays, especially the 1st of July, sometimes they are running in as much as 5,000 people in a day.
Wow.
That's the kind of numbers we are talking about. So that's why it is in our interest as sector operators and as government for that matter to pay attention to Kakum make sure that the maintenance, is up to scratch, make sure that we improve the facilities there, make sure that we add onto the services like access, the routes as you have rightly talked about, to fix it, to fix those.
So we've talked about Flea, we've talked about Kakum. Are there other tourist sites that we should be looking at in terms of part of the 20 that you did mention?
Yes, as part of the 20, they are, as I said, they are spread across the country. There are sites in the north. The Salaga Slave Market is one of them. If you come to Brahafo, Kintampo is on our list. There's work going on as we speak by the 48th Engineers Regiment to make sure that all the things we need to put there safety-wise under the direction of GTA or the standards and the leadership of GTA is done. If you come down south, we are looking at our forts and our castles as well as things we need to work on. So we narrowed in on the 20 because we have also tied in into a project that the minister initiated called the GH Akwaba Hotels. One of the challenges we identified going across all our sites is accommodation. So a lot of people go to our sites and sometimes you have to travel long hours and they get there and you can only be there for a few minutes and you have to run back because there's no accommodation. So she mooted this idea that we construct low budget hotels, not your regular city center 5-star hotel, but be able to do low budget hotels yet with a certain quality standard of infrastructure and service.
Okay, is that with private investors?
With private investors, yes,
okay.
Indeed, with private investors. So we have tied these GH Akwaba hotels to the 20 project sites. That's why, so the GH Akwaba is part of the Project 20 to be able to construct these hotels. And we have engaged some private sector interests as we speak. We are very close to signing an MOU. I believe we should be able to do that before the end of the month.
Okay.
To get the investor in. We secured drawings already in terms of what it should look like. We are still negotiating and getting a few changes done. We would also want to make sure that these hotels have an indigenous look and feel as much as possible, Ghanaian look. And so the fittings and the decorations or the structure itself in terms of building will be able to have some of these facilities, and that's our focus. And beyond the Project 20 and GH Akwaba hotels, the flagship we are working on now is the Marine Drive Investment Project. Okay. Which is looking at the entire stretch, 241-kilometer stretch from the Osu Castle, the behind of the Osu Castle as exists, all the way to the Baden Powell Hall. And the plan there is to develop a modern beach front as we would have anywhere else in the world. Indeed, the literature has suggested worldwide that we develop facing the sea. And the closer you are to the shore, I mean, that you should have a certain standard of living. But in Ghana, the reverse, I think, is what we are seeing. We have developed with our back to the sea as if it didn't exist, and indeed, with our backs to the sea, doing what we do with our backs. And
perhaps it's also because that's a very heavy project.
Exactly.
Anything close to the sea would also cost you because you've got to maintain it. Exactly.
And so the Marine Drive is supposed to help us become a model project where we would develop the entire beachfront, the coastal line, 241 kilometers as I indicated, to have first-class facilities, the likes you see, whatever takes you to Dubai or takes you to Miami, we want to be able to put it.
So how far are we with the plans? You have an amazing dream.
Marine Drive,
how are we making it a reality on the ground?
If we paid a visit to the site today, Marine Drive, you see machines working as we speak. Contracts have been signed with the anchor developers. We have negotiated with the Alodia owners who are the custodians of the land. And there are two paramouncies we have had to work with. The Osu paramountcy led by Nekinka, the owner, and the Ga Traditional Council through the Gbese chief, who have expressed their full commitment, given their full support. They have gone to the site to perform the traditional rights and handed over the site to government.
Did we have to give them any kind of compensation in terms of monetary?
Not exactly monetary, but we've had to make concessions. The land is theirs. So we have a business module that is not necessarily looking at exchange of money, but to let them hold an interest in the development that will come up. So we have signed an MOU with both paramouncies, suggesting that a certain percentage of all the things that will be done there should naturally inure to their benefit. So if it comes to things like jobs, if I assure them of minimum 30% of all jobs, from carpentry to masonry to housekeeping to front office, hotel management, food and beverage, that once they have the people and they demonstrate that they have the requisite qualifications, we will talk to them and interview them. Once they qualify, we'll give them the opportunity. Then, of course, we'll have to construct things like hospitals for them, community centers, schools, as part of the negotiation that was done.
Okay.
So,
but these facilities you mentioned will be located at the same venue as part of the drive?
No, not the same venue, at venues that will be given to us or directed by the traditional authorities. Yes.
So when should we see a fully completed project?
A full completed project will take some time. These are
like more than 4 years?
Yes, certainly more than 4 years. Certainly more than 4 years. As I've indicated, the land preparation is started. The site clearing has begun. The contractor doing this work, who is the anchor developer, is supposed to clear the site and undertake what we call land preparation. So by the time he's done, we should have put in all the sewage systems needed. We should have put in electricity. We should have put in bulk power supply points. We should have put in roads and flora for these for the site, based on the master plan that has been developed. And once that is done, we will now, the projects, the hotels, there's an amphitheater, there's a conference facility, there's an arts village. We are likely to have some financial institutions in there as well.
Won't this be a really expensive place either to rent, to own, in terms of own a house, if you like?
It will not be expensive. It will be practical, based on the use. For instance, you have an arts village there, you have an amphitheater there. That's a facility that is for everybody. It is not made to exclude. It is more an inclusive project that just is going to be a panacea to help develop our coastal line.
Okay.
The way it should
Would it be a government's own project?
Government is the facilitator. Government is the owner, but the development will be undertaken by private sector interests.
Okay.
For those who are going to build the hotels, we have about five-star hotels.
Okay.
We are looking at
any
minimum
names yet?
We have a few. We haven't.
No names.
They are very
existing hotels,
existing powerful names. Some in Ghana, some who are now going to join in terms of franchise. They are very good names that all of us will be excited about. In a few months, we are hoping to do an official sword cutting after the land clearing.
In a few months before the close of this year?
Oh yes, certainly. Certainly. The times, are not exactly now. Otherwise, I would have said maybe a month, but I can't commit to that because it's not exactly my decision.
Okay, all right.
We should be able to see that done within the shortest possible time, and then we will see the developments coming out. Then we can put out which investors or which interests we are talking to. But we are talking to many. Kulun Hotels, we are talking to Paramount, we are talking to Radisson Blue, we are talking to Kempinski, we are talking to many others, big names who have expressed good interest. But at this point, until we sign and can put on the table these agreements, they remain interests. They remain interests.
So obviously the Ghana Tourism Development Company is doing a lot of things.
Yes.
One final question, but I guess we can talk some more another time. Is local tourism, driving local tourism, because we have all these sites, but they will tell you that the people who actually visit these places are not Ghanaians, sadly. So is there a certain project to make these sites either attractive or get Ghanaians also go on tour in our country?
Yes, I will answer that and tie it into one other project. And, in terms of explaining the local interests. It is understood clearly by government, and the Minister of Tourism, Honorable Catherine Abilima-Afiku, has been clear on that we cannot succeed with tourism if we do not develop Ghanaian interest in terms of visitation to our sites. If you visit China, one out of every 10 visitors, you're likely to see maybe 4 or 5 who are Chinese. And that's what we need to encourage. We've got to encourage our people, our Ghanaians, to move, to travel, and to see these sites as we invest in them. So we launched the project, or under the instruction of the minister, and led by the Ghana Tourism Authority last month, a little after, over a month, launched a project called See Ghana, Eat Ghana, Wear Ghana, Feel Ghana. Now, this is supposed to be the campaign that would help deal with this thing. So there's the Eat Ghana, which last month saw the jollof competition and other things. There's the Wear Ghana, where some of us are fully aligned. All we wear now is 100%.
I'm actually wearing Ghana.
Ghana,
it was made here.
Made here, yes. Yeah. That's what we're saying. People think Wear Ghana means only cloth or fabric material, but it's anything that is manufactured here, made here, sewn here, fully Ghanaian. We want to promote that. It has immense benefits. And of course, the See Ghana, which is to get our people to travel. And so it's a package the minister is putting together, working through us as the tourist development company, where we are developing tour packages. And these will be given to corporate institutions, both government and private sector institutions, to churches, to educational institutions. And the essence is not to be profits making, but it is just whatever we make enough to break even, so we can encourage the movement, so that as we get to move and get Ghanaians to participate, we can show up the numbers of people. Of course, understandably, we also have to bring in interest from outside in contributing overall to our GDP from foreign money. That's why, for us as GTDC, of all the things we are doing and we have talked about, we realize that we've got to position Ghana well. So, in addition to Marine Drive and Project 20 and GH Akwaba hotels, the one thing that gives us sleepless nights is what we called Ghana, the Center of the World project. In school, growing up, we learnt about the Greenwich and the Meridian Line, and we sang them as songs. But understandably, they have tourist capital. There's tourism capital to be made out of that. If you go to Tema today, we know that that's supposed to be the line, the Greenwich line runs through Tema. In the whole world, at the point where the longitude crosses the latitude at 0.0 degrees, the closest habitable land in the whole world is Tema. No country in the world, no city in the world can claim that. It's just about 5.44 northeast, which is about 600 kilometers from the port, the actual crossing line in the port. So we have massively put together a project called Ghana Center of the World in Tema to position Ghana as the true center of the world and aggressively market that for the world to come and see.
Okay, but is there a dispute over that?
We've read a few disputes. We've read a few disputes where people will claim other things, but once anything you will read would have one of the lines crossing, either the Greenwich or the Meridian. But in terms of the intersection at 0.0, there's no dispute. Ghana is the closest. So we are doing 4 things to represent the Ghana Center of the World project. The first one is at the Tema Golf Club, and the line runs through the golf club at hole 7, on the golf hole 7. It's an 18-hole golf course. I have drawings here from them. They have handed over their sites to us, and we are working with the architects and another architect, David Ajayi, internationally acclaimed, to design a module project. So hotels, everything there, to make that club, we'll christen it the Ghana, the Center of the World Golf Course. From the golf course, you'll come to the Presbyterian Church at Community 1, which is called the Greenwich Presbyterian Church. If you go to the church today, you meet people praying on the line, the Meridian, the Greenwich line, because they know it's there. And people believe that they go there to pray and they get answers to their prayers. And we have people going to Israel, paying thousands of dollars, airlines, tickets, hotels, everything, to go to the Wailing Wall. We are going to create a spiritual experience out of that church. And the church has given us drawings, they're giving us graciously the place. to work with them, signed necessary documents. The architect is working on that spiritual edifice as well. And we'll market it as our own spiritual experience, a spiritual center. Come and pray, and God will answer because you are right on the line. From that point, we've been given another piece of land in the port, about a 1.5 acre land, where we are going to raise the iconic tower. So today, when you see the Eiffel Tower, you know this is Paris in France. If you see the London Bridge, nobody tells you where it is. If you see the Empire State Building, you know it is New York. We are going to raise the biggest tower in the country, working with the necessary investors to build the center of the world tower. So we can invite people to Tema to come and see the actual, true center of the world in Tema. Big, iconic tower, imposing. The design will work on, give it a certain indigenous look, as I said earlier, and we would put that out and market.
These are massive projects.
Massive projects.
Heavy funding.
Heavy funding projects. We have interest. That's why I'm excited, because we have interests expressed.
But are these not just beautiful dreams?
They are dreams, and they are beautiful indeed. But our work is to practicalize them. And it's a big
I'll
challenge.
see all these things that you're talking about in my lifetime.
In your lifetime, in my lifetime as well.
And my children will grow up and see these things that you're saying.
Absolutely. His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has given us his blessing, and they are giving us the support necessary to be able to attract the investments we need. All we need to do is to, you see, because we don't have money, what we have is land and our incentives and all. We will give this and hold them as equity participation.
Okay.
And let the investors build them. And indeed, the port itself, the MPS project is ongoing. We've spoken to Ghana Ports to try and modify their plans to construct a passenger terminal, a cruise and passenger terminal, so that we can attract, there are cruise liners that pass every week to other countries. Some of these liners are carrying 1,000 people, 1,500 people. So imagine if we have a terminal and we can discharge 1,500 passengers a month to come into the country to spend 1 week, 3 days. They sleep in our hotels, they eat our food, they buy our clothes and our artifacts, they enjoy our music, they take our airlines.
That's good investment.
Good investment.
Well, it looks like you have a heavy task.
Heavy.
We can only wish you well with this. And of course, we will be watching, waiting to experience all the things that you've talked about. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So great conversation there with Kwadwo.
Antwi, not the musician, but the man in charge
He's a chief
of the Ghana
executive
Tourism Development Company.
Company.